Hello everyone and welcome to the channel and Happy New Year's. As this video will be coming out on January 1st, I decided to start off the new year right. We're going to do something for the beginner phone farmers out there. If you're just getting to my channel and you want to know a little bit about what phone farming is, I'm going to explain it to you. I'm going to go over what you need to set up a very basic phone farm. This here is a 10 phone farm. I'm going to go over everything to set this up and get this running. It will be done in a few episodes. For this first episode, we're going to talk about what you will need to have to get your phone farm started. And it really is simple. It's nothing that is too hard to go about getting, because most of it you probably already have laying around. The first thing you're obviously going to need is phones, and you're going to need 10 of them. Not a hard thing to come by, because chances are you have a few already sitting around. As you can see, these are other phones that I have ready to go onto this board itself. But these were all given to me for Christmas, and they were all old phones that my wife's family had laying around. And I have 8 of them that are ready to go right away. So 3 people had 8 phones, old phones, hanging around. Now, there are a few phones that I would stay away from for the beginning phone farmer. And they are any Windows phones, and most iOS devices or Apple devices. Not that you can't use them for phone farming, but they tend to be expensive, and not all of the apps are available on those. The Windows phones especially, I found, have next to no apps available, and they will be hard to use. So if you do have one of them, you may want to stay away from them. You may want to look for Android devices. You can run some apps with Android 4.4, but I would make sure you go with 5.1 or above. Obviously, the better the device, the more apps that you'll be able to run and the smoother it will run. Now, if you're looking to buy new phones, you're going to have to go online and look. I always go to Straight Talk, and I make sure that I buy a new phone on there. I always look to see what deals they have and get my phones that way. Now, we got phones out of the way. You can source phones however you want, but you really want to stay with Android for the ease of operation. The next thing you're going to need is a whiteboard, a pegboard, or someplace you're going to be able to mount your phones. I went with a whiteboard here. That's the same whiteboard that is up there. It did have an option for hanging. As you can see, I got the hooks in the wall. You can do this however you want. This is really the part that you get to be, a little bit creative in how you want to mount your phones for your situation. For ease of use, I'd say a whiteboard is the best way to go. Now, don't make the same mistake I did. If you're out looking for a whiteboard, do not get a magnetic whiteboard, and this is why. We're going to get a close-up, and as you can see, the holes, they almost look like a bullet shot. Because when you're trying to drill through it, that metal outside is going to fray up. And that's why you can see on here, I put these foam strips on there. That is just so that the pieces go in with the wire, and they keep the sharp edges so nobody cuts their hands if they're taking a phone on and off. I'm not so much worried about the wires going through, because once they're in there, the way you zip tie them on the back, they don't have a lot of motion, so you're not worried about fraying or cutting those. Next thing is you're going to need to drill the holes so that they fit the ends of your cords. Now that's going to bring me to the next section. The cords. You can buy them. I'll have everything linked in the description for the video of what all I use, and some other options that you could use as well, because there are other things. But the charging cords, I like to go with the braided cord itself, and I buy the length cord that I'm going to need for the location I'm setting it up. Now, you can be safe and you can get a longer cord like I did here. This one is a 6-foot cord that will need to be tied up. Sorry, it's a little messy under here, but as you can see, once I get the new one on the board, we'll be looking at these chargers here. So the length to get there is what you need. I went a little longer on this one, and it does make a lot of cable tying necessary to keep it neat and tidy. For the new one, I went with 3-foot cords because that is all I'm going to need. I ran a piece of string and measured off of all of the locations from where I'm mounting it, and it's just easy and simple to get the length that you need. They come available in all different lengths. That's probably, you can buy whatever one is the cheapest. I've never really had a problem with charging cords as far as buying a cheaper product and having issues with it. I've never had any problems with it, but you can buy what you like. The color didn't matter to me, so I just got a random variety pack. They were the cheapest. The next thing that you're obviously going to need is a way to charge your phones. And I showed you underneath there, I have 2 of these right here. The Sabrent 10-port charger. They stay cool. They'll run exactly what you need for a 10-phone farm, as they have 10 charging ports. I've never had a problem with heat. It is a fast charger, and it does it will tell if you have a phone plugged into it or not, whether it needs to be charged, and will charge along with it. Not very expensive. You can find these at around $30 to $40 depending on where you are to get these, but they are definitely a great charging option for a beginner phone farm. It keeps everything in one unit, and you don't have to have a bunch of chargers or power strips. There is nothing wrong with using power strips. It's just it takes up space for me, so that's why I don't use them. I use many power strips with my fish tanks, and it's definitely a viable option if you'd like to use the chargers that come with the phones themselves. You can do that. You remember, you'll need, most power strips come with 5 outlets, so you would need 2 of them, and you can just go from there with power strips if that's how you want to go. The next product you're going to need is a timer of sorts, because this is what's going to save your batteries, and this is what I'm currently using, which is a little larger, gives me the option to plug much more into it and still run on the same timing schedule. This is going to save your batteries and help prevent battery bloat in your phones. If you're going to leave your phone sitting on full charge all the time, there's a good chance you're going to have battery issues with the phone. You may not have them swell up and cause damage to the phone, but you will have decreased battery life if you ever need to take them off of the charger themselves. I run whatever the setup is necessary to keep the phones turned on, but still let them get down to around 10% before the charger comes on. I pick my weakest phone and go by that one. As I set it, you can kind of see my setup of on and off with this one. This was my old timer that I was using before I switched to the new one for the multiple whiteboards. So any timer, doesn't matter. You can do a digital one. You can do one of these ones where you just pull out the pins. They come very cheap. They're not a big deal as far as something you need to spend a lot of money on. If you're looking to run more things, you can get into something like this here. There is tons of timer options. There's tons of charging system options out there. I'll link some of the ones that I've had experience using, and then I've had other people that I've talked to that have recommended using as well. So you have the best options for starting your phone farm. So a quick run over. I know we've talked about a lot. We talked about smartphones you're going to need for your board. You're going to need 10. Android preferably for the new user. You can use tablets. The one thing I do have to recommend to you is if you're going to use tablets, you will not be able to download all the apps that you may want to use they aren't all available for tablets, so keep that in mind if you're doing it. Also, the expense on tablets is higher than with cell phones, so just keep that in mind. But if you have tablets laying around, don't be afraid to add them into your phone farm itself. Next, cords. Get the length that you're going to need. Give yourself a little bit of room that you can zip tie stuff around. I didn't talk too much about cable ties, but you can do kind of a system like this to keep everything as organized as possible and send it down to your charger. This is where you want to spend the better part of your money. Find a charger that's going to work for your devices. You don't need to go super expensive, but you don't want to go super cheap with these as well, because some of the cheaper ones I've had will heat up to get very hot, and they can actually fail and melt down, possibly causing a fire. That's not something you want with your phone farm. You can go with a quality charger, and that can save you a lot. There are a number of quality ones out there. Like I said, descriptions will be in the bottom. There'll be links for you. You can take a look what will work for you. Then, saving your battery. You want your timer. Very simple. Doesn't matter what type you want to do, as long as it will turn power on and off to your charging system. That's all you'll need. Finally, the whiteboard or a system to mount them. You can use a rack. You can lay them under a desk like I have here. Whereas, the wires aren't obviously as neat and tidy, but it is an option. If you have a table, you can lay everything out on your table. You have it there. You can organize your wires just to come up onto the table, and that's fine. You can get into organization at a later time, but I prefer the whiteboards. Make sure you drill holes. Please do not get magnetic whiteboards. They are a pain to drill out. Learn from my experience, because the next one set I get will not be a magnetic one, that's for sure. I like to keep everything neat and clean, and to me, this is borderline unacceptable, but with the foam that I put under there, it keeps, from cutting your hand or anything like that. The last thing I wanted to talk about is you need a way to attach your phones to your whiteboard. My way of choice, if you can hear, is Velcro. Simple Velcro on the back of the phone and then onto the device allows you to just put them and they'll stick where you want them to go. I think this is going to wrap up our first episode of what you will need to get started in phone farming. If you're already a established phone farmer, let me know what you think about the phone farm setup I'm showing here. Let me know if you have any other recommendations as far as charging systems, timers, and phones you like to do. These video series here is all about helping people get into phone farming. Also, if you are a phone farmer, I have a New Year's challenge for you. The challenge is go out and introduce phone farming to somebody that's never heard of it before. And I think that you're going to see a really neat reaction when you go through and you explain what you're doing, how much money you can make, and how much money you're currently making, and explain to them exactly what it's all about. I know I've done it a few times. I do it every day here on the channel. I hope I bring new people into phone farming, because I know we ended last year with a lot of negativity as far as phone farming and its future. But I'm going to tell you right now, for the money that you put into setting up your phone farm, you can recoup that very quickly, and I mean in the matter of months. The final video of this series will go over a 1-month run with 10 phones, and it will also go over a 6-month run of 10 phones on there, what I was currently doing. If you're curious as to how much you can make, feel free to look back through any of my weekly review videos. There will be a card posted up there. You can click on it. It'll take you to the playlist. You can see exactly how much I made. I do occasionally use a computer setup, but for the most part right now, this is just going to be involving phones themselves. So I thank you all for watching. I hope you find this tutorial in this series to get you off the ground. If you are a new phone farmer, you can do it with a single phone, but if you're jumping in and want to go with a 10 phone setup or a 5 phone setup to start off to see how it does, I say get in there, get started, and make a little bit of extra money, because it can make the difference when it comes to, buying birthday gifts, Christmas gifts. All my Christmas gifts for my son and my wife were paid for with phone farming, so it is an option out there to help anybody that wants to bring in that little bit of extra income. I thank you all for watching, and next week, look forward to setting up this phone farm. I will show you once the cables have been pulled through. We'll get into some cable management and how to mount the phones in the next episode of Getting Started Phone Farming. So I thank you all for watching, and as always, have a good day.